Good day to one and all. This is Dr. Sivaraman of iknowindices.com. We are into the new week wherein you find the month of October gets over and the new month starts. So from 31st of October to 4th November, in this week, the players are known to make the very volatile move for the month end and the new month beginning time. And today we are on 31st of October on Monday. During this Asian session, I'm going to give the live market analysis and the forecast for this particular week. So first of all, let me explain to you the forecast for the week. And later on, we will do the market reading. And also I will explain how the trading strategy can be during this particular time frame. My contact details are given here, and those of you who are interested to get further questions answered can contact me through my email ID dr@iknowindices.com, i-knowindices.com, or the Skype chat ID iknowindices@hotmail.com, or the website www.i-knowindices.com. So first of all, I'll look into the derived forecast for this week. This is the expected market moves for this particular week, which is given session-wise. So each session, what sort of moves are expected to happen during this particular week is being explained. Now here you come across the last day of the month of October and the first few days of the new month of November, up to 1st to 4th. So this sort of weeks, you come across very volatile move. Monthly trend reversal volatile moves are expected to happen. But after that of the volatile move, their players are expected to firm up, like last week how they had done it. Similarly, you will come across they will firm up towards close. So this is what expected overall for the week. Now for each of the day, all the three sessions comprise the expected market moves for the week. So you can buy during that of the dip and book profit during that of the rise. That way you can do the intraday trade. Buy during that of the Japanese session dip and book profit during that of the US session rise. That can be done. Otherwise, you can simply do session-wise trade, buy during the dip and book profit. And again, during the swing, they will make a nominal dip from the high. Then once they don't go below the intermediary low, you can take a buy. Then they will make the firm up. You can book profit. Then again here during the US session, during the early session dip to buy and late session rise, you can book profit. That way you can plan your trade and that will be session-wise trade. And so the expected market moves for this week are given. So today they are expected to make the initial dip. They have done it already and they are expected to slowly gain the levels in the case of Euro and GBP. And tomorrow again they are expected to firm up. Then on Wednesday, for the month end and the month beginning, they are expected to make the firm up move, and on Wednesday, 2nd of November, they are expected to make a drop during the European session and then firm up. And again on Thursday, during that of the European session, they are expected to make a drop in the case of Euro and GBP, especially GBP, when BOE interest rate decision is going to be announced. Then later on, they are expected to gain the levels. So understand that this week you come across BOE interest rate decision and also the non-farm payroll during the here by 11 GMT and sorry, here by 12 GMT because of the daylight saving system is off, but still daylight saving system is on in the case of US. So you'll come across a slide around 12:30 GMT. So here it will be 12 GMT, the BOE interest rate decision at 12:30 on Friday, the non-farm payroll decision numbers, and the market is expected to show USD gaining more for that. Afterwards, they are expected to gain the levels in the case of Euro and GBP, similar to what they had done it on Friday. Friday, for the US GDP data, they made the drop. The data was more than expected. So they made the drop initially to start with, and later on they started gaining the levels unassumingly, which has really induced the long holders to liquidate after the drop, and also seeing that positive US dollar sentiment, and later on found that Euro and GBP started gaining the levels. So this is what the players are expected to do. The next week, that will be the first week of November, the market is expected to show the trending move. Swing and rise moves are expected. And on 8th of November, you find the US elections, and by 9th and the 10th, we will know the outcome. So the players are expected to make some swings during that particular week, creating some uncertainty on the upside as well as on the downside, creating some rumors, and later on they are expected to make the USD weakening move after that of the election. So you will be wondering why they are making such moves when they find that there was a majority with regard to the elections, and why still they are making this. And see, they will simply say it is risk appetite. Now the range in which the expected moves are seen in the market, envisaged in the market. Euro could swing from the 1.0850 to 1.1150. All narrow swings could be seen, and in the case of GBP, 1.2050 to 1.2350 area, and yen 102.75 to 105.25. Again, it will be range bound, and it will start making the downward move. And in the case of CHF, 98.25 to 1.0050, probably they may just touch it during the non-farm payroll or after that. Then in the case of Canadian dollar, 1.3150 to 1.3450, and Australian dollar 75.75 to 77.75. So this is the narrow range envisaged, mathematically derived levels envisaged during this particular week. So that is about the forecast. Now we will do the market reading. So market reading, normally we note down the initial lows and the highs around 3:30 GMT and try to compare it to that of the market and see where exactly they are taking the market. Now in the case of Euro, 1.0966 was the initial low. They came down to 1.0961 and started gaining the level. A brief downward stop for about 5 pips. And the high is 1.0991, and they have not breached it. In the case of GBP, 21.2076 is the low, and 22.15 is the high. They have not breached the low of the whole. So only in the case of Euro, they made a brief downward stop and started gaining the level above that of the initial low in less than 30 minutes. And in the case of yen, 104.44 is the low, 104.94 is the high. They are not breached the low of the high. In the case of Swiss franc, 98.71 is the low, 98.86 was the high, and they just breached the high, went up to 98.89 by 2 pips or 3 pips, and then started coming down. So they just made a brief upward stop and started coming down. And if you look into that of Euro and CHF, they are showing negative net change in order to push Euro CHF cross on the downside. Then in the case of Canadian dollar, 1.3401 is the low, 1.3424 is the high. They are not breached the low of the high. And Australian dollar, 75.84 is the low, and 76.03 is the high. They just breached the high and went up to 76.14 and still holding above that of 76.03, indicating they wanted to gain the levels. And in the case of Canadian dollar, they are simply holding around that of 1.34, and briefly they could make an upward stop into 1.3434 or 45 level and then start making the slide. They consolidate and make a brief upward stop and started coming down. During that upward stop, and if we take a sell, we'll be able to easily keep stop at entry and book profit during the downward move. In the case of Swiss franc, they are expected to make a brief downward move some more, and later on they are expected to just come back. So they will widen that spread on the downside as well as on the upside, just to consolidate. And in the case of yen, they are expected, they set the high and they are expected to breach the low when they are holding closer to the high, not breach the new high, not breach the initial high for more than 30 minutes, indicate that they wanted to come down, holding high, pretend as if they are going to rise, and slowly they will just make it to fall. And in the case of GBP, they are not breached the low and the high. They are consolidating slowly. They are expected to gain the levels. In the case of euro also, they have done a brief downward stopper and they are expected to gain the levels. As the forecasts say, that a small dip during the early Japanese session, followed by the gaining moves during the day today and tomorrow, and Wednesday onwards, they are expected to make the drop for Thursday and Friday, and then start gaining during the each day US session. Now the recommended trades in the case of euro, probably when they make a brief downward stopper, if they are around that 1.0966 to 61 level, can take a buy and then keep a sell limit. But also you can take a sell if you want there and keep a buy stop for that and do either way swing trades. Similarly, in the case of GBP also, we can do either way swing trades by keeping 1.2156 a buy limit order when they make a brief downward stop, either during the gap time or during the session start time, European session start time. And in order to handle euro GBP cross, because earlier you have seen that euro was showing negative net change, GBP was showing positive net change. Now it is unchanged, but it was making swings like that. They are handling the European crosses. That is why you find that euro is showing negative net change and USD CHF is also showing negative net change. And this sort of moves they make it in order to briefly handle the European crosses, and then later on they will come to the yen and the yen crosses, and also they will handle the commodity crosses and commodity pairs, and finally to the majors during the monthly trend reversal time. So watch the moves and then try to take positions accordingly. Now you find that the daylight saving system is into practice is off in Europe, but still till 6th of November, US it will be prevailing. So the session timings will be as follows: 0030 to 7:30 GMT will be the Japanese session. 7:30 to 8 GMT will be the Europe gap time before the start of the European session. European session will be reduced by about 30 minutes. 8 to 13 GMT will be the European session, and then 13 to 13:30 will be the gap time. Then 13:30 to 20:30 will be the US session, and then followed by the gap time 20:30 to 0030 GMT of the next day. So this is how it will be. And from next week onwards, we'll find daylight saving system will be off in US also. Then European session will get over by 14 GMT by that time. Then 1 hour it will gain, and then 14 to 14:30 will be the gap time. Then 14:30 to 21:30 will be the US session. So the timing will not be reduced, but it will be shifted 1 hour, the start and the end of the US session. And this gap time will be reduced from 20:30 to 0030 instead it will be 21:30 to 0030 GMT. That will be the gap time. So if you got any doubt, kindly ask me. I am willing to answer those questions. I'll show the forecast for the latecomers. So Monday and Tuesday, they are expected to gain the level slowly and pretend as if they could gain further. But suddenly they will say that, no, we have the BOE as well as ECP, BOE as well as non-farm payroll, and the market will start counting on that, and they will start making the slide. And when the data are good, and then later on they will see that is discounted and start gaining the levels. There is a question. Brent, could you explain how to get about choosing which cross to pick? Okay, as far as crosses are concerned, as I explained, that they have to handle the crosses by making contrarian move in the majors. So let me just show you the expanded page. Here you come across the crosses. So suppose I wanted to trade in Euro GBP, Euro Yen. Then Euro is showing positive net change. GBP is, Yen is showing, Euro is showing negative net change. Yen is showing positive net change. So you come across the spread is very narrow there. And in the case of crosses, the spread should be more than 70 pips for you to enter into the market. Otherwise, they will simply consolidate it. And here, the spread should be more than 40 pips to enter into the market. Then, Euro GBP. Euro is showing negative net change, GBP is showing positive net change. It's a contrarian move. So they are making GBP stronger when compared to Euro, the numerator. So as a result, you find that numerator is weak when compared to denominator. That is why it's showing negative net change. So when they make such negative net change during the level week beginning, understand that they wanted to gain more levels in the case of Euro GBP later on. So when they make a brief downward start from below that, you can take a buy and keep the hedge order 50 pips below. And the spread should be more than 70 pips for you to enter, but still it is not. Then Euro CHF, they are handling it on the downside. As Euro is also showing negative net change, and CHF is also showing negative net change. When they push both Euro as well as USD CHF on the downside, stop cutting the new low for more than 30 minutes to 2 hours. Then also stop cutting the new low for 30 minutes in the case of the cross. You can take a buy and keep 50 pips hedge order. Then they will start gaining the levels. So this is how they make the double edge effect. That is, Euro is showing USD gaining move, whereas CHF is showing USD weakening move. That sort of contrarian move. You find that Euro is showing only 16 pips negative net change. CHF is showing only 5 pips negative net change, whereas Euro CHF is showing almost 20 pips negative net change. So that is how they make it. So that you have to identify. The spread should also be more in order to gain entry. Then in the case of USD CAD, Australian dollar, both are showing positive net change. So when they show positive net change, Australian dollar and CAD come across positive net change as such in the cross. And now you have to see whether stop cutting the new low, stop cutting the new high in both the majors, stop cutting the new low or the high. If it is near the high, you can take a sell. If it is near the low, you can take a buy. That way, the spread should be 70 pips. Only then you can enter. Otherwise, you will be holding for a long time and it will test your patience. So any pair which is any cross which is showing spread of more than 70 pips, you can enter into it, and that will give you good result for you or a quick profit making opportunity for the intraday trade. Is there any further question on that? So these are all the expected market moves and the levels in which the currencies are expected to swing during this week. Since they have breached the initial low or the high in some pairs, they are going to be active in those pairs. You have to watch for those pairs and then try to take positions. Wherever they have breached the initial low or the high. Then RD. When you mention near low, near high on crosses, is it the levels noted at 330 geometry? No, current level. Current level. As far as crosses are concerned, there is no initial low and the high we need to follow. We have to follow only the initial lows and the highs in the case of majors. That will indirectly reflect on the crosses. So you need not specially note down and find only the spread becomes more than 40 pips in those majors. Automatically you'll find the cross will also show more than 70 pips spread at that time. Once they make contrarian move, select those cross. That means what? They are handling the cross. Some traders are being trapped with unfavorable positions following the technicals. Then they wanted to trap such traders. So you just follow the player's move and take positions. Might be a contra trade or near that of the new low you can take a buy or near that of the new high you can take a sell. Then you will find you will make 100% profit in such trades. And constantly. Which times and the sessions are better to play the crosses? Okay, as far as position taking is concerned, what the players do is they make it as a 24 hours market. So if you take the positions during that of the Japanese, mid-Japanese session, you'll be able to really close it with substantial profit during that of the mid-US session. The crosses, if you trade it that way, from one mid-session to another mid-session, you will have sufficient profit. Otherwise, it may be for about 20-30 pips. Sometimes they consolidate and say, for example, when they start rising or dropping USD yen, especially you know that yen crosses, they make one-sided move. So once they drop about 100 pips in the case of USD yen, and also you come across euro yen is making about 120 pips drop, then you expect it to go up. No, they simply hold it during that of the European session, start making further slide during that of the US session. So any firm up in such currency, you take sell position during that of the Japanese session and keep stop at entry once the position makes profit. During the US session, you will be able to really put profit during mid-US session. So when you are trading in crosses, choose the mid sessions. The activity will be more when compared to the other majors there. We just spread the live market put page for both the majors and the crosses. You will find during the mid sessions the activity will be more here when compared to this. Is there any other question? So these are all the recommended trades for today. When they make small dips below that of the initial low, in the case of euro and GBP, try to take a buy. We'll be able to see some 30-40 pips profit. I have seen you do a major position with the spread was about 35 pips. So is it safe as it was 40 pips? No, I take some positions, especially during the of the tracking the Forex market to the webinar. So during the webinar, so obviously I have to take some positions and show the results. I cannot simply say that no, the spread is not more than 40 pips, so I am not going to take the position. I will not be able to explain what happened to the positions, etc. So you have to understand. So when I've been given a slot to give the webinar, during that time, whatever the activity happens, I have to necessarily show some trades. Hope you are able to understand that. But you don't have such compulsion. When the spread is less than 40 pips, don't commit any position so that you will be able to really book profit. In those days, during the Tracking the Forex Market Together webinar, when I had taken the positions when the spread was less than 40 pips, you would have invariably seen the result was making only about 5-10 pips profit. Sometimes it is hedged and not able to close. That sort of situation would have been seen. I show all those things mainly to confirm to you that you enter into the market when the spread is more than 40 pips in the majors and more than 70 pips in the case of the crosses. That way, you'll be able to really find the profit booking will be at a shorter notice. So understand the shift in the timing of the market. Make a note of it. From now till March 2017, we'll come across the daylight saving system will be off. So from next week, even US will also switch off the daylight saving system. So the standard times will be followed in both Europe as well as US. So accordingly, the market 24 hours market timings will be changed. And note down and see how exactly the players start the big moves during that early and the late sessions. You'll be able to really understand this is the timing they follow. So there is no more question coming out. And this week I'll be traveling, so I'll not be able to give the Friday webinar review of the forecast, what I have given it. I'll come back on Monday, on 7th of November, and give you the forecast for the next week. And that will be a trending move on the upside from next week onwards. So try to take some buy positions as a bottom fishing if you are a position trader or currency conversion trader, and then you can substantially book profit after the US elections. They will make very aggressive gain for the year end. Once the election is over, they will make about 1 or 2 weeks some sideways move and then start gaining the level, telling that the year end move has commenced already and the big institutions are taking the risk appetite. That is how they will simply say and start gaining the levels in a big way during the month of December. And during the month of January, they will quickly gain the level during the first few days and start offloading till 15th of January. So keep that in mind and trade accordingly. And you will come across during the December and January the yearly trend reversal moves. That will be very big volatile move and not like the small swings what they are doing now. They will aggressively make big moves on the upside as well as on the downside as the yearly trend reversal move. So I take this opportunity to thank FX Street for the facilities provided to present the webinar. And I'll come back on 7th of November and give you the forecast for the next week. And follow the rules what I have given it. They are all the rules of the players. So that once you follow the rules, it is like understanding their own language. So once you understand the language of the players, whatever they talk, you are able to understand and trade fearlessly. Thank you one and all. Wish you all happy trading. See you on next Monday.